I never thought I'd end up here writing this down, but honestly, I feel like I need to get this out somewhere, and maybe someone out there will get what I'm saying. My name's Dave, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 8 years now. We got married pretty young, around 25, and everything seemed fine, at least from the outside. She's supposed to be the love of my life, the person I trusted more than anything. But if I'm honest, there were always little signs, small things that I brushed off, like her being a bit bitchy or dismissive when I try to talk to her about stuff. She's always been a bit of a diva, demanding and quick to lie when she didn't want to face something, but I never thought she'd actually cheat on me. Things started to feel different in the last few months, though. She'd be more distant, staying late at her friend's house or going out with the girls, but I'd see her texts and hear her dismiss me when I asked questions. Still, I convinced myself it was just my paranoia. Then 6 weeks ago, I got into a terrible car accident, broke my leg, fractured my arm, and ended up in the hospital. It was a mess. I was sedated most of the time, and honestly, I was just trying to recover and keep it together. While I was in the hospital, Lisa was there most days, but I started noticing some weird things. She'd disappear for a while and come back looking a little too satisfied or smug. I didn't think much of it at first. She's always been a bit of a bitchy, self-centered woman, so I figured she was just bored or annoyed being stuck there with me. But then I started hearing things from the nurses, things I'd never expect to hear about my wife, and that's when my world turned upside down. One nurse, a girl named Megan, who's been working at the hospital for years, pulled me aside one day. She's a good girl, actually, and she's always been kind to me. She told me she saw Lisa meeting with the surgeon who operated on me, Dr. Carter, in my hospital room, just the two of them. She said she saw them in my room, talking, laughing, looking way too cozy for doctor and patient's wife. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was sedated, lying there, completely vulnerable, and my wife was in my hospital room sneaking around with some guy she's supposed to be married to me. I asked Megan how she knew, and she showed me footage from the security cameras. I watched it over and over. There was Lisa in my hospital gown, kissing Dr. Carter on the lips, giggling like a damn teenager. They weren't just meeting, they were having sex, right there in my room while I was unconscious. The footage cut out after a few minutes, but I could see enough. My stomach sank. I felt sick, furious, humiliated all at once. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just some innocent affair or a fling. It was something much darker, something that tore right through the trust I thought we had. I confronted her when she came into the room that evening, acting all sweet and innocent, like she didn't have a care in the world. I played the footage for her, and her face just froze. She looked at me with those cold, bitchy eyes and lied through her teeth. Said she was just visiting her friend, that she didn't know anything about any footage, that I was seeing things, that I was paranoid. She told me I was overreacting, that she'd never cheat on me, and that I was being ridiculous. But I knew better. I had seen what I saw. No way in hell that was just innocent. That night I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. My whole world was crashing down around me. I'd always trusted Lisa, and now I could see how much of that trust was just a lie. She's a manipulative, bitchy woman who's been cheating behind my back for who knows how long. And the worst part, I still don't know how deep this goes. What else has she lied about? Who else has she been screwing around with? That's what scares me the most. I thought I knew her, but now I see I was fooling myself all along. After that night, everything changed. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. All I could do was replay that footage over and over, trying to make sense of it. The image of Lisa, my wife, in my hospital room, with that smug little smile, kissing the surgeon she claimed was just a friend, kept haunting me. I started noticing more things, little lies she told, sudden mood swings, her avoiding my questions. It was like watching a stranger slowly take over the woman I thought I knew. I stayed in that hospital room for days, obsessing over what I'd seen. I didn't tell anyone at first. I didn't want to believe it myself, even though I knew deep down I couldn't ignore it anymore. I was vulnerable, broken physically, but emotionally I felt like I was breaking apart. Every time she came into my room, I looked at her differently. The way she'd brush her hair aside, that fake smile she always put on, Sometimes I caught her glancing at her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. It all added up. One afternoon, she came in with her usual bitchy attitude, trying to act like nothing was wrong. I couldn't hold back anymore. I told her I knew about the affair, about her sneaking around, about her lying to my face. Her face twisted into this nasty, dismissive sneer. She rolled her eyes and told me I was crazy, that I was imagining things, that I was jealous because I was injured, she said. Maybe you should focus on getting better instead of accusing me of shit I didn't do. That was the moment I decided I'd had enough. I told her I wanted a divorce, that I wasn't going to stay with a woman who'd cheat on me while I was lying there helpless. She laughed at me, a cold, sharp laugh that chilled me to the bone. "Oh, Dave," she said, "you really think I'd leave you over some stupid affair? You're so paranoid. You're just trying to control me because I'm tired of your bullshit." That's when I saw her true face, bitchy, manipulative, full of contempt. She's always been the type to lie her way out of everything, and now I knew she'd been lying to me for years. Of course, she denied everything, even when I showed her the footage. She called it disrespectful, accused me of making it all up, and said I was unstable. I felt so angry, so betrayed. I wanted to scream at her, but I just sat there, shaking inside. The love I had for her, the trust I placed in her, all gone. In an instant, I realized I'd been blind, thinking she was perfect, thinking our marriage was perfect. Turns out she's just a nasty, selfish woman who screws around and lies to cover her tracks. That confrontation made me realize I couldn't stay in that marriage anymore. Not after what I'd seen, not after what she'd done. But I didn't act on it right away. I needed time to process, to think about what I really wanted. I started planning my next move. I wanted revenge, but I also wanted her to pay for what she'd done. I didn't want her to walk away unscathed, acting like she was the victim. She's the one who betrayed me, and I wanted her to feel the pain. I decided then and there that I had to do something that would shake her to her core, something that no lying or fake tears could fix. I started gathering evidence, not just of her affair, but of her manipulative, bitchy behavior. I recorded our fights, saved messages she sent, even found a way to get access to her email account without her knowing. I wanted her to see that I wasn't just going to roll over and forget about this. I wanted her to understand that I knew everything, that I wasn't naive anymore. Deep down, I knew that once she realized I was serious, she'd have no choice but to face the consequences. And I was going to make damn sure she paid for her lies, whatever it took. Once I had enough evidence, I started planning my next move. I knew I couldn't just confront her again and expect her to admit everything. No, I needed her to see that I was serious, that I had pulled the rug out from under her manipulations. My plan was to catch her red-handed in the act again, but this time I wanted proof she couldn't wiggle out of. I set up some hidden cameras around the house, especially in the bedroom and her secret spots. I also installed a keylogger on her phone. Yeah, I know, it's invasive, but at that point I didn't care. I wanted to see how deep her lies went. In the meantime, I kept quiet, pretending everything was normal. I didn't want her to suspect I was onto her. I watched her carefully, noting her every move, her new excuses, her bitchy attitude whenever I pressed her about anything. It was frustrating and infuriating, but I knew I had to be patient. The moment she slipped up again, I'd have what I needed. And sure enough, a few days later, she made a mistake. One night, she was out late again. I was lying in bed, pretending to sleep, when I saw her sneaking into the house, looking around nervously. I turned on the hidden camera I'd set up in the living room. To my shock, she wasn't alone. She was meeting someone in the dark, someone dressed in scrubs. I couldn't see his face, but I recognized the voice. It was Dr. Carter, the same surgeon who'd been in my room, the one I'd seen with her on the footage. They were whispering, laughing, and then I saw her hand reach out to him. I felt a rage I'd never experienced before. She was doing it again, meeting up with him in secret like it was some game. I waited until she went to bed, then I finally pulled out the evidence. I played the footage for her the next morning, right as she was grabbing her coffee. Her face turned pale. She stammered, trying to lie her way out of it, but I cut her off. I told her I had the proof, that I knew everything. Her bitchy attitude turned even nastier. She spat at me, calling me paranoid, crazy, and jealous. She kept insisting I was just insecure because she was hotter than me, that I was imagining things, that I was controlling. But I wasn't listening anymore. I'd already seen too much. That was the moment I knew this was over for us. What hit me hardest was how she didn't even try to deny it anymore. She just looked at me with that contemptuous glare and said, "You're so stupid, Dave. You think I actually care about you? Please. You're just a broken-ass man who can't even satisfy me anymore. I do what I want with whoever I want. If you had half a brain, you'd just accept it and move on." That's when I realized she was a bitchy, selfish woman who'd been cheating on me for who knows how long, and she was proud of it. She saw me as nothing more than a toy, a fool who believed her lies. That day I made up my mind. No more pretending. No more trying to save something that was already dead. I knew I had to do something drastic. I'd been patient. I'd tried to believe her bullshit, but now I saw her for what she really is. A manipulative, bitchy woman who'd cheat and lie and then throw a tantrum when caught. My anger boiled over, but so did my resolve. I was going to end this mess once and for all. Not just confront her, but make her feel the pain of betrayal in a way she'd never expect. I wanted her to finally understand what she'd lost, me, and whatever shred of dignity I had left. After I gathered all the evidence, her secret meetings, the texts, the footage, I knew I couldn't just keep quiet anymore. I had enough to make her realize she couldn't keep playing her games. Honestly, I felt a mix of rage and relief. Rage because she'd betrayed me so cruelly, and relief because I finally had proof that I could use to end this nightmare. I started to plan my revenge carefully. I wanted to make her see that she wasn't going to get away with her lies, that she couldn't manipulate her way out this time. My idea was to confront her in a way she wouldn't be able to spin her way out of. I set up a meeting for that evening. She was supposed to go out with some of her friends, but I told her I had a surprise for her. I had made arrangements with a private investigator to follow her, just to confirm everything. I wanted her to know I was serious. When she went out, I took the footage, the messages, everything I'd collected, and I prepared a detailed timeline. I was going to make her admit, even if I had to be harsh. That night she came home cocky, acting as if she'd won. She called me paranoid, accused me of getting jealous for no reason. I kept my cool as I sat her down and played the videos and showed her the messages. Her face twisted with rage, then panic, then outright contempt. She started screaming, calling me crazy, saying I was stalking her, that I was deranged for even doing all this. But I refused to back down. I told her I knew everything, that I had all the proof I needed. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "You're not just cheating on me. You're lying, manipulating, and using me. I want out. We're done." She exploded, screaming insults, calling me pathetic, jealous, a nobody. She threw a glass across the room, knocking over a lamp. Her bitchiness was on full display. She told me I was a fool for believing I could keep her, that she'd always be one step ahead of me. But honestly, that's what made it so satisfying, seeing her lose control, knowing that I had finally caught her in her own web of lies. This wasn't just about cheating anymore. It was about justice, about finally exposing her true nature. From that moment, I knew I had to act fast. I told her she could pack her things and leave. I wasn't going to let her stay and continue ruining my life. She kept insisting she loved me, that it was all just a mistake, that I was being unreasonable. But I saw right through her. She doesn't love anyone but herself. That night she packed her bags, stormed out, and I watched her go with a strange mixture of relief and emptiness swallowing me whole. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut, but at the same time, I knew I was finally free from her bullshit. The days that followed were a blur. I stayed at a friend's place trying to process everything. The heartbreak, the anger, the humiliation, it all hit me harder than I expected. I kept asking myself how I didn't see it sooner, how I'd let her manipulate me for so long. But now I was determined not to let her ruin me anymore. I started planning my next steps, legal, emotional, everything. I knew I'd have to deal with her bitchy lies and her manipulative ways in court, but honestly, I was ready. I deserved better, and I was finally willing to fight for it. That's the thing about betrayal, it messes with your head. It makes you question everything, yourself, your judgment, your worth. But I've learned one thing: never ignore the signs. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. I was blind, but now I see her for what she really is, a selfish, lying bitch who thought she could get away with anything. And I swear, I'm not going to be her fool anymore. The aftermath hit me harder than I expected. I thought once she was gone, I'd feel some kind of relief, maybe even a sense of victory. But instead, I felt this hollow ache inside, like I'd lost a part of myself I didn't even realize was so important. For days, I kept replaying everything. The lies, the sneers, the nights I spent awake wondering if I was crazy. It's funny how betrayal can make you question your entire reality. I kept asking myself if I missed signs, if I was just blind all along. Still, I knew I couldn't let her get away with this. I wanted her to feel the consequences, not just of the affair but of her manipulative, bitchy attitude. So I started making some calls, lawyers, financial advisors, someone to help me get custody of the house. I wanted her to see that I wasn't just going to fold and accept her bullshit. I wanted her to suffer the fallout, the humiliation of knowing she'd been caught and dumped. I started documenting everything, her moves, her lies, even the little digs she threw my way in texts after she left. I did. Want her to think she could walk away scot-free. And then I decided to confront her one last time, not for her sake but for mine. I knew she'd try to manipulate me one more time, so I planned it carefully. I told her I wanted to meet her face to face, just to talk about the divorce process and how we divide everything. She was furious, of course, calling me a psycho, accusing me of ruining her life, but I kept my cool. I handed her a folder with all the evidence, screenshots, videos, the timeline of her lies. I told her I wasn't interested in fighting, but if she needed to see how much I knew, she'd better get ready for it. Her bitchy attitude was on full display. She yelled, called me every name under the sun. But I didn't break. I told her she was a selfish, manipulative woman who'd been cheating on me and lying for months, and she didn't deny it anymore. Instead, she just spat out some nasty comment about how I was weak and pathetic, that I'd never find anyone better. That's when I saw how deeply broken she really is, so full of herself, so incapable of taking responsibility. I felt a strange mix of anger and pity. Anger because I knew I'd be better off without her, and pity because she's so desperate to cling to her lies, her manipulations, her bitchy attitude. I didn't want to drag things out, so I told her I'd see her in court soon. I wanted her to know I'd fight for everything, my dignity, my peace, my life. I wanted her to realize that her actions had real consequences. I didn't want her to think she could cheat and lie her way out of this forever. That day, I finally felt a strange sense of closure, like I was finally taking back control of my life after letting someone like her run me in circles for too long. It's not about revenge anymore. It's about reclaiming myself, my sanity, my respect. I know she'll never admit she was wrong, and honestly, I don't care anymore. I just want to move on, rebuild what she tried to break, and make damn sure she understands that she'll never hurt me like that again. That's the lesson I've learned. Trust is fragile, and once broken, it's impossible to put back together. But at least now I know what I'm really worth, and I won't let anyone take that away from me again. In the end, I managed to get everything in motion: legal separation, custody arrangements, and a clean break from her chaos. The court hearings were a nightmare, but I stuck to my guns. Seeing her squirm, trying to justify herself, telling even more lies, I knew I'd finally cut the cord for good. Her bitchy attitude didn't surprise me anymore. I saw her for what she truly is: a selfish, manipulative woman who thought she could get away with anything because she was pretty and spoiled. What I've learned from all this is simple but powerful. Never ignore the signs. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. Don't stay just because you're comfortable or because you think you're supposed to. Trust your gut, especially when it's screaming that something isn't right. I wasted years trying to fix what was already broken, ignoring the bitchy attitude, the lies, the sneaky meetings. But once I saw her true nature, I realized I was better off without her. Now I'm focusing on myself. I've started therapy, worked on building my confidence again, and I'm slowly putting my life back together. It's not easy, trust me, it's a whole process, but I'm stronger than I thought. I don't need her and I don't need her lies. I'm finally free from the manipulative, bitchy woman who thought she could cheat and lie her way through life. For anyone out there dealing with a similar betrayal, trust me, it hurts. It feels like your world is crashing down and you want to crawl into a hole and hide forever. But you've got to face it. Gather your evidence, confront the lies, and don't be afraid to walk away. The pain will fade, but the lessons stay with you. And in the end, you'll come out stronger. I've learned that heartbreak is just a stepping stone to something better. A life where you're in control, where respect matters, and where you don't have to tolerate that bitchy attitude or lies anymore. So yeah, that's my story. It's raw, it's real, and it's what I needed to finally say out loud. I hope someone out there reading this finds the strength to do the same. Nobody deserves to be played for a fool, especially not by someone who's supposed to love you. Trust me, you're better than that.